Welcome back to Field Notes, the infrastructure podcast, where we break down the systems, technologies, and decisions shaping connectivity. I'm your host, Abby Crawford, and today's guest is someone who sits at the center of industry insight and dialogue, Mr. Rob Chambers. He is the managing director at Total Telecom. Rob, thank you so much for joining me. I am so excited to have you here.
Thanks, Abby. Thanks for the invitation. It's great to be here.
Absolutely. So before we get into the bigger industry conversations, I would love to start with you and with your work. Can you share a bit about your role at Total Telecom and how the organization has evolved over the years?
Yeah, sure. My main job is the managing director of Total Telecom. Um, we're fundamentally a publisher and a media owner for the broader telecom sector. Um, we come from a heritage where, well, Total Telecom's been around since 1997 and was originally just the brand name for the website. And in those days, we were predominantly a print publisher, and we had some big print titles. One which
Okay.
might be well known to an audience in North America would be Communications Week, which at one stage was a big US title. And we ran Communications Week International. Um, and around about the early 2000s, when you had the huge sort of crash in the in telecom and the dot-com sector, we realigned what we were doing and
Mhm.
aligned all of our activities under the Total Telecom brand,
Okay.
and parted ways with the legacy brands, um, and so continued as Total Telecom then. Um, Total Telecom was then acquired by an events company called Terrapin, who still own
Mhm.
us today. And from there, we've really evolved from being purely a publisher into what's probably predominantly an events business. We're publishing interest as well.
Yeah.
Um, so it's changed quite a lot. And then 2.5 years ago, we acquired the broadband communities business in Texas, and so we have a real foothold in North America now as well.
So cool. So building on that, this means you get to interact with a bunch of different leaders across the entire ecosystem, operators, vendors, policymakers. What have been some of your biggest observations from convening with these voices?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, we deal with people in a number of different ways and in a number of different places. Yeah, we operate everything from the annual World Communication Awards, which are probably the biggest recognition of excellence in tech and telecom, which actually, as it happens, is tomorrow night. Actually, um,
Oh,
uh,
wow.
good timing. Eh? Um,
Yeah.
and that's truly global. There's people involved in that from everywhere, from North America through to Asia, Africa, the Middle East. You name it, we'll have an audience of hundreds of people tomorrow night from all over the world.
It's
Uh,
amazing.
and then you go down the other extreme. We'll deal with um, events and publications, obviously in North America, in Germany, in Italy, in the UK. So we deal with lots of people in
Wow.
lots of different places. Um, I think I think it's funny. There's a divergence, I think, going on in the industry. Um,
Okay.
whereas when you look at something like the World Communication Awards, it becomes more global. Every single year, we get more entries from more diverse countries and more small players getting involved in the industry. So that's becoming more global. But then when you actually talk about uh, more mainstream business, the day-to-day business that we run, so in particular around the connected events, both in the UK and in America in particular, the broadband
Yeah.
communities events, um, then those are probably becoming less global. Um, and I think this has been a shift. I hate to bring it back up again so many years later, but it's been a shift really ever since COVID.
Yeah.
Um, people became more, um, I'm not sure if nationalistic is quite the right word, but certainly more focused on their own country. Um,
Sure.
and there was less of a trend for people to come to global events other than in very unique sectors. Um,
Mhm.
and also, I think the other trend we're seeing generally at the moment is a lot more caution from people um, for a variety of different regions or reasons, depending on where you look. Um, the industry is in pretty good health, but there are reasons that are sort of underlying in different places as to why people are being cautious. So that perhaps means that um, we're seeing um, less mass attendance at events and mass participation. It's a lot more focused around um, the commercial teams, the product teams, the people who can actually go out there um, and hold their hands up and say, "Look, we went to this and we generated this new business or this inquiry."
Okay, so that's a perfect setup for where I want to go next. And the next thing I want to ask you, from that vantage point, I want to zoom out and just look at the industry as a whole. You kind of started talking about that. What do you see as the most significant infrastructure challenges that facing operators and network builders right now?
Wow. Um, I'll put this from the frame of the fact that I'm fundamentally a commercial person. I'm not a technical person, so I'm not going to look at it from the point of view of this is the technology behind it. The I think the biggest challenge is always the same, and that's economics, getting the economics right.
Mhm.
And also, I'm being very general in the sense of it doesn't matter which country we're talking about here. Um, Whether it be the issue of the cost of build, and when you look at uh, a rural location compared to an urban location, where maybe the
Mhm.
economics are a little bit more straightforward in an urban location, but the competition is much higher. There's people who've already been there and building there already.
Right.
Um, uh, so you've got that, or you've got the situation where you have the challenges of build versus take up. In the
Mhm.
UK, for example, if we talk just about fibre, um, we're now saying that fibre is passing. I think the latest figure is about 69% of premises, but
Wow.
take up is only about 30%. Uh,
Okay.
and this is a problem, I think, really everywhere
Yeah.
across the world at the moment. Um, so I think that's probably the biggest challenge at the moment is the economics.
Yeah.
Um, but then again, you've got lots of challenges from a legislative standpoint. In North America, the challenge has obviously been around BEAD. Um,
Yes.
Back in March, everyone thought it was a sort of done deal and it was all being rolled out and everything was going smoothly. And
Yeah.
um, a spanner was thrown in the works, as we'd say in the UK.
Yeah.
Um,
I like that. It
and
was. Here we are in December. It's still a very hot topic.
uh,
Yeah.
and it looks like we have an outcome coming forwards. Um, but it's very different to what we were talking about in March. And so
Right.
it's had a lot of impact on companies who'd already geared up because they thought it was going one way and suddenly going another way. Um, there's some interesting things coming out there. I was um, reading something the other day. Actually, I think I read it today from the Pots and Pans blog, which I know is very popular in the States, and um, pointing out the fact that one of the biggest potential winners is the Amazon Leo SAT solutions, but doesn't actually have any infrastructure at the moment. So it's kind of ironic that
Yeah.
uh, huge amounts of business are potentially being given to a company that doesn't actually
Mhm.
play in that space at the moment.
Yeah.
Um, we're seeing challenges like that as well all over the world. We
Right.
operate in Germany, and um, Germany's got its own challenges at the moment. Its
Mhm.
traditional industry has struggled because of what's happened with um, competition in automotive, for example, from China and
Sure.
energy
Yeah.
prices and all that kind of stuff. It's got a real need to move the game forwards in terms of digitalization, um, but it's not happening. Bureaucracy is getting in the way. The build's very slow. The rollout's very slow, uh, and so that's a big challenge. Um, So all of these kind of things are huge, and I guess the other one, which is huge as well, um, which in different ways affects everywhere in the world, is skills.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, do we have the skills to build the networks?
Mhm.
Um, Everyone's talking about AI, but there's a relatively scarcity of people who are there able to engineer it about it and that kind of thing. And so skills is just one of those ongoing challenges, and there's lots of good work going on to improve it. But
Right.
there's still more people coming to retirement age and leaving the industry than there are coming in.
Yes,
Yes.
100%. I've definitely noticed that. So before I was in this industry, I actually was a teacher. And something that I noticed is that when kids are in school, the jobs that they talk about are firefighters, police officers, doctors, lawyers. No one talks about going into tech or into telecom. So I think that that's definitely something that needs to be pushed a little bit more, is introducing these careers at an earlier age, because you're so right. There's definitely more people leaving than there are coming in.
Yeah, I think the thing is that uh, where work is done to improve skills, um, it focuses a lot on what you might say is the more glamorous side of it.
Sure.
There's lots of publicity given to, and there's lots of college courses and university courses now
Yeah.
focusing on cybersecurity. There's quite a
Mhm.
lot starting to pop up where the majors are in AI and that kind of
Yes.
area. Um, but actually, where a lot of the weakness comes in at the moment is there's no one to build the basic network.
Right.
Um, there's no one who wants to put out poles or dig the trench or um, do some of the basics in there. Uh, I saw some stats a little while ago that, um, and I can't remember which country it was about. I can't remember if it was actually for North America or whether it was one of the European countries, but they were talking about the fact that the theoretical demand for electricians
Oh,
um, from the data center sector um, is more than there are electricians out there at the moment.
I wouldn't be surprised if that was North America,
Yeah.
that's what you saw it about. I would
Mm.
not be surprised. This brings me into my I know we're starting to talk a little bit about AI. You mentioned it just a minute ago, and I want to look ahead for a moment and just drill a little bit deeper into that topic. Where do you see AI making the biggest impact, whether it's operations, engineering, or even customer experience? Where are you seeing that impact most?
Well, I think the shift obviously seems to be going more into agentic AI, and so the hope is effectively that it's AI that can do things, that can automate systems, that can um give better solutions to customers.
Yeah.
From a telco point of view, AI should have an impact at all levels. It's obviously got some really useful uh, abilities from a maintenance point of view, predictive maintenance, and uh, hopefully being able to solve a problem before it becomes a problem.
Right.
Um, it should also be very helpful as well when it comes to customer service, and being able to drive sort of the right kind of help and response to a customer's needs. And then obviously the operators also want to monetize it and see what they can actually sell to other companies. I've seen a lot around AI-driven APIs and that kind of thing at the
Mhm.
moment. It's all big topics. Um, I guess that one of the areas where perhaps people need to take a breath and think is where they're talking about customers. Do customers actually want a totally AI-driven response, or do they want to talk to a real person?
Right.
And so where that boundary comes in.
Yeah, and I think that I've talked to a few people that they're trying to make AI more human, which I think
Mm.
is that's a very hard concept for any of us to grasp because it's not human.
Mm.
It's very cool, but eh, it's hard to wrap my brain around, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it's I think that's problematic in itself. I think if, as a customer, if you understand that it's a tool and it will
Mhm.
respond, it will do certain things, then that's one level. Um, if you've got something that is, as you say, trying to be more human and is effectively trying to pretend that it is human, then it elicits a whole different type of responses from people, and
Right.
um, customers don't want to feel they're being fooled.
Right. And I think too, a big topic is people are concerned that AI is going to take their jobs. That's something I think I see every single day. And I don't personally believe that to be true. I think that people, not only do we prefer human interaction and we trust each other more than we trust um, a platform or a software, but I think everything with AI is prompted by humans. So I
Mm.
think it's more so a tool rather than a replacement.
Yeah, I'm certainly not, from my business's point of view, I'm not concerned that anyone's going to be replaced by
Yeah.
AI. Um, I hope that in the main it will reduce some of the more repetitive jobs.
Yeah.
It will improve efficiencies, make things
Mhm.
possible quicker, more accurately, and let people focus more on the creative, interesting parts of their roles.
Yeah.
Uh, I guess the fear factor, I suppose, from people is perhaps if people aren't willing to embrace it.
Mhm.
Um, I saw someone quote the other day and say, "Well, AI is only going to take your job if you let it." Um,
Mhm.
and I think there's an element of truth to that.
Agree.
If it's here,
Yeah.
it's uh, the genie is out of the bottle, so to speak, and
Yes.
it's really how you work with it, how you manage it, and certainly in our sector, um, it 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 should facilitate even better connectivity, even better solutions for more people.
Mhm.
And so it's really a case of embracing it, but making sure that, as you say, the humans remain in control.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that Total Telecom is best known for is bringing the industry together. And I want to make sure that we touch on that side of your work as well. How do the events that you guys host, like Connected Britain, and how do those help shape the industry with collaboration and momentum?
Uh, yeah, I think the biggest thing that events do, yeah, events bring people together. That's
Hmm.
what it's fundamentally all about. It sounds a little bit like the old cliche, but people by people, people like working with
Yes.
people.
Yes.
Um, you see people come together at events, and it sparks ideas. It builds business relationships. It um, strengthens existing relationships. Um, we obviously build a lot of our events around the content. Nearly everything we do is we
Right.
refer to as a convex. So, a sort of a cross between a conference and an exhibition, but with a very, very strong emphasis on the high quality content and really good speakers. Um,
Yeah.
so we do want people to come along and learn and listen to great people who are sharing their views on the industry. Um,
Right.
but the biggest value really is in the networking. Um,
Hmm.
and who they go out and meet. It's the opportunity for sponsors and exhibitors to fundamentally sell their products and services, but it's also the opportunity for the buyers to come along,
Right.
see what's out there, see what their peers are doing, um, build on those kind of relationships.
Yeah, I love that. That's great. And I completely agree. I think that just the connections that you make are everything in not only this industry, but just everywhere. It's all about who you know and the connections that you have. So related to that, what role do you think that media and thought leadership play in moving the industry forward?
Well, the role's huge, isn't it?
Yeah.
Whether you can really encapsulate it uh, in a simple way, the media industry itself is changing a lot. And
Yeah.
again,
For
AI is a
sure.
huge part of what's driving that change in there. Um,
Yeah.
I think that we're we're coming to a point where, on one hand, it's easier than ever for people to keep up to date with what they're doing and the work
Mhm.
they're doing and news about the companies they want to do business with and things like that. Um, but actually, if you look at how people have changed their working patterns, um, you know, years ago, if you wanted to deal with someone, you'd ring their office, wouldn't you? If you don't know where they were, you'd ring the switchboard, yeah,
Right.
and they'd be there. um, yeah, today people aren't necessarily working in the office. I'm not working in my
Yeah.
office today. You're probably not either.
No,
It's
I'm not either.
no, um, and so the whole idea of um, people being able to track down the people they wanted to do easily
Mhm.
has changed. In some ways it's easier. Everybody's on LinkedIn. Um,
Yeah.
everybody gets email, but at the same time, everyone's sort of slowly getting submerged by it. You know,
Mhm.
uh, um, uh, my favorite trick with my email of a day is to highlight a whole load of it and delete a big chunk of it that doesn't look very interesting because
Yeah. I need to be better about that. My email is I don't even wanna tell you how many unopened emails that I have. Yeah.
uh, and so on one hand, the media industry is getting better and more able to deliver content that people want when they know what they want. Um,
Right.
but on the other hand, I think it's really where it's playing into the hands of the live events industry.
Mhm.
If you want to meet someone, well, the best place to go and do it is face to face.
Right.
People are increasingly worried about other concerns as well. Cost, sustainability, things like that. The days perhaps of people saying, right, they're going to get in their car and go and visit 10 clients or something like that. It's perhaps changing, where it's much more
Yeah.
efficient to say, right, that event has got a load of people I want to listen to who are talking. There's a bunch of them there who are exhibiting, who I'm quite interested in as suppliers, and I know there's going to be thousands of them there, so I can actually meet some of my peers and arrange some client meetings there. And from that point of view, I think that's the big strength for the media business is the live event side at the moment because it's a very, very efficient way of doing a trip and going and achieving a lot very quickly.
Right. Making those connections, making a bunch of them because all the right people are in the right place.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's huge. As we wrap up, I want to end on a forward looking note. What are you personally most excited about when you think about the future of connectivity and this industry?
Um, it continues to amaze me how fast and how far things change.
Yeah.
Um, and I guess what is the the most exciting thing is looking at what is happening next. Um,
Yeah.
and when I started working in this space, uh, there was a very clear um, space between telecom tech
Mhm.
and the wider tech industry. That's that space has disappeared. They are tech is now tech,
Yeah.
and tech is now all pervasive. Anything
Mhm.
you want to do has to be networked. If you look at the other big trends that are out there at the moment, you look at electric vehicles. Well, that's
Mhm.
great, but you can't charge your electric car unless it's networked.
Right.
You want to find a charging point, you can't do the billing. Yeah. Um, uh, you can't really have solar panels on your roof unless there's some way of connecting it to the meters and connecting it to the grid and having the management. It's all networked.
Right.
Factories are networked. I was watching a great video from an analyst friend of mine the other day, and I think he was in Miami actually, and he
Oh.
was filming um, the different delivery robots that are running on tests around there. Um,
Oh,
again,
whoa, cool.
it's all networked,
Right.
and so everything is networked, and I think that's what's most exciting because the tech moves faster and faster, the abilities move
Yeah.
faster and faster, but connectivity is right at the center of it. And so,
Love it.
I
Yeah.
guess the excitement really is everything's connected.
Yeah. I completely agree with that, and it's so funny because people don't realize that. Like, day to day, you're not even thinking about the fact that I made a video a few weeks ago, and it was like, you use 5 different types of critical infrastructure before you even have your coffee in the morning. You wake up, you turn your lights on, you wash your face, you brush your teeth, you're using water, like, and all of that works because we're so connected.
Mm,
Everything is connected. It's so
mm,
cool.
mm. But I think
So
what's interesting, you've just hit the nail on the head, so to speak, uh, is that the public shouldn't have to. And I think one of the
mhm,
worst sins of the tech industry is trying to actually tell people about broadband speeds, about 4G and 5G mobile, about fiber and copper. The person in the street doesn't need to know. They don't care. They just want it to work.
yeah, they do. You're not going to that's something that I'm in marketing, of course, and I try to get the point across that you can't sell people these technical products. They're not gonna buy your product. They will buy a solution to their problem. If they don't have internet, that's a problem. They're gonna buy
Mm,
whatever they need to have it. They don't need to know all the ins and outs of how exactly that works. They don't care. They just want their problem solved. So
mm,
it's more so of like explaining the story of, oh, we do this and we're connecting this community and this town now has internet or whatever it may be. It's solving their problem, not selling a product.
yeah. Yeah, and in that sense, actually, some of the emerging countries in Africa and things are actually better examples than North America or Europe. You look at the pervasive way in which mobile banking's come through. And it's
Yeah.
not because people wanted to use M-Pesa or something else as a technology. It's because they didn't have a bank.
Right.
And
Right.
they didn't go sell people a mobile technology. They sold them a bank on their phones.
Yeah. So yeah, it's so interesting. I could talk about this and talk in circles forever about this topic, but to wrap up, I ask this is my favorite question to ask all of my guests. What advice would you give to any leaders that are navigating such a rapid and constantly changing industry?
Wow. You didn't warn me of that question.
Sorry, right on the spot. Whatever comes to mind. There's no wrong answer.
Focus on the people. Um, People make your business.
Mm,
Having a great team is crucial to it, and try and enable that they have the skills for where we're going next.
absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Rob, this has been so fantastic. I appreciate you taking the time to share your insights and all the work that you've been doing. And for anyone that is listening who wants to explore more of Total Telecom's research, reporting, and events, you can go to totaltele.com. Thanks again for tuning into Field Notes, the infrastructure podcast. Until next time, that's it from the field. Stay grounded.